Howdy there, folks. This is Texas Gaming Industries here, and welcome back to another episode of my Railway Empire Let's Play. In the previous episode, we began expanding towards the Midwest, connecting the cities of Toledo and Chicago, and in this episode, we're going to start expanding more into the Midwest, connecting Indianapolis, St. Louis, and Nashville with Chicago and this city as well. Basically, connecting a huge set of loops to connect these four of these cities together before expanding westward. So let's get started. Indianapolis did have a connection bonus, but I was a little too slow to get that. I'm gonna basically start building some track and connect it to Toledo. Now, Indianapolis is okay as of right now, but the thing is, it's producing, beer, and I already have Toledo producing beer. I want to make sure every city at least has an industry where it requires something from another. Like, since Indianapolis is making beer, I don't want the city to produce it because Toledo's nearby, and freight trains won't carry the same goods between two cities. Unless the city supply of beer in a city that's producing beer is super low. In that case, we're gonna basically start connecting the city, replacing the industry in Indianapolis with something different. Don't have a whole bunch of money for this right now, but we'll soon have enough. Right about now. We'll add a furniture factory here. And now, all we need to do is basically bring in a train carrying, lumber from Pittsburgh. Because Pittsburgh is going to require materials to make stuff. Like lumber as well as steel. I also need to change my ticket prices on some of these routes because I haven't done so yet. Heck, I haven't even gotten a passenger train between New Orleans and Memphis. There we go. There's a sugar plantation and fruit farm. We can make Memphis into a liquor town. But I want Nashville to do so because we're so close. We'll connect the cities of Pittsburgh and Indianapolis for right now, but then we'll start focusing on the more important tasks at hand. Making our cities grow, because some of them haven't been growing for quite a while, i.e. Toledo, Ohio, and Nashville, Tennessee. The cities are big, but they're not growing. Fortunately, the Wright farm has a sugar farm connected, and we can basically operate a sugar train between it and Nashville. $75,000. Ugh. First, I want to make sure that you basically connect Chicago with Indianapolis first. Now with that done, we can now connect the sugar farm to the main line. Now you might be thinking, will I be transporting grain on this line? No. Because since Nashville is close to the Moore Preserve, there's no need to operate a grain train to there. So this is going to be sugar only, SO. And at the same time, we can now operate a freight train between Chicago to Indianapolis. I also forgot to mention I also need a passenger and a freight train between Chicago and Indianapolis as well. Security guard. There's a bonus connection. I'll connect that. And then delete it to gain back the money I spent for the truck construction. And I'll also start connecting the line, start building the line to connect the grain farm. Well, technically, I'm going to basically operate trains between this farm to Chicago. That done, we can now start operating trains of sugar and grain from here to Chicago and Indianapolis. Since this line is now also operating above a sugar and a grain, we'll operate a sugar train on one and a grain train on track on the other line. Chicago's not big enough for sugar just yet, but it will come in time. But meanwhile, might as well connect the line between Chicago to Nashville. Now, grain can be delivered to there a lot more faster. But now that I think about it, I think it will be reserved for sugar because I mean, look, there's a logging camp and a sugar plantation. I mean, a logging camp and a grain farm at the same time. Jeez, sometimes I can't even talk in my videos. Now, we'll start operating a train of grain from the farm and a load of logs from the nearby logging camp. Now with grain and logs being delivered to Toledo, it will grow. But I also want to connect the line between this to the line for Chicago, so logs and grain can be delivered there too. And, as previously, track 1 for the grain, and logs on track 2. We also earned a couple of points. 534. So we'll have enough for basically a couple of new items. First of all, the last locomotive for the 1830 to 1870 era, 1830 to 1850 era, the number 51 Dragon. This will basically replace the Dunham brakes. We also have enough for the external image and the train instructions. There's even a couple of minute notifications left over for a professor to give us a little bit of a cash bonus. Oregon Treaty acquired access to the Pacific routes secured. And my company's now reached $20 million. That's not too shabby. Now with logs and grain being delivered, the city is going to grow very well, as long as it has most of the basic commodities delivered. Basically, if I bring in the raw materials, as well as one commodity needed to produce one particular good, I'll basically be... you will probably be very well off. Toledo is growing, and that means the city will now basically be able to access up to 2 industries. And we also got oil lamps, which will increase the amount of money our passenger trains will make. Which also reminds me, I'll also have to change the amount of money passengers pay for a ticket between Indianapolis and Nashville. But I also have to have a passenger freight train running between Nashville to Chicago. And we basically made $2,636,000,000. Pretty nice. Conductor, stoker, security guard. Ooh. Darn, both of these are creative, so that won't do well for our conductor. Security guard. And I have yet to put a new supply tower from the previous episode. And, now that Nashville's grown, let's just replace the paper mills with something else. And all of my bonds have been paid. We'll just pay for one, and then we can basically pay it back. We'll place in a distillery, because there's a fruit farm nearby. And that line that delivering fruit will be used for the line heading for St. Louis. And there we go. Now, with fruit being delivered and having 32 stations connected, our railroad is gonna basically be making loads of money. And soon enough, bonds will basically be a thing of the past. With the connection to St. Louis done, we have now entered Missouri. But I also want to have enough space for trains from Chicago heading to St. Louis. That's the only spot it can happen because these are going towards the south, is at this junction here. Add the signals. It should be good to go. We'll basically start operating trains in this area in the next part. But for now, let's just focus on basically getting our railroad operations well made in the Midwest. Out of Philadelphia to deliver livestock to Chicago for the meat packing plant. My company now reaches 17,000 miles of track, which is pretty good. And we also managed to complete this task, although we only got a green check mark because we didn't complete it in half the time. But that's fine. It's just simply, as long as I'll be able to make a good company value, then I won't have to worry about it. Because I have played the Dominion Day scenario, and I got impressed in it despite the fact that some of the tasks I completed were not completed in half the time. And, at the same time, we'll probably introduce a new engine to replace the Penzi D-Class or Reindeers. This being the Rensselaer, I believe? It's basically the very early generation of 440 that would soon evolve into much something else. Kind of like 440 Evolution Stage 2. We also have a new accountant. This will reduce the amount of money we need to pay for an auction, if we win, by 26%. But, however, since there's no competition, we don't need to worry about that. And we already have, one in the working as an accountant for the company. We'll add the security guard, add this conductor, that's a speed bonus, maintenance bonus. Middle and Atlanta. Breweries are not gonna do well here. Maybe a paper mill will probably do better. Because there's logs being brought up there down here. Change the ticket price on that. And then started running trains between Chicago to Indianapolis. And now we basically have a good threshold starting in the American Midwest. That engineer will not work out. But Indianapolis is about to grow into a larger city, and cloth could basically be a new commodity that the cities need. Toledo needs sugar. I could start operating a train all the way to Toledo, right here. We'll build this big Y. Trains needing sugar could travel on this line. This will be a sugar-only train because a grain farm is serving Toledo. We basically made over nearly $3 million. And I have yet to build a maintenance facility in Toledo and one in Indianapolis. Plus, I will put a weaving industry here. And connect the Shawn estate to my railroad network. We don't have enough innovation. I don't want to unlock this new locomotive until 1850, because that will basically be beginning the new era of locomotives, the 1850 to 1870 era. Cruise in Portland, no thanks. But all said and done, I think this will basically do it for this episode. We have basically started connecting to the Midwest, and now our railroad company is basically making a good amount of money, not yet to pay back a bond, but soon enough, we basically won't need to worry about bonds anymore. I forgot to mention, I also haven't done a passenger train between Indianapolis to Toledo and Indianapolis to Pittsburgh. I just totally forgot about that. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this episode of Railway Empire, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check my channel for new content that's uploaded every Friday. Once again, this is Texas Gaming Industries, and I want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!